Good morning. Let me see if I actually have... Yeah, I have audio. Awesome. Awesome sauce. All right, there is like not... I feel like we're missing some people. I'm gonna mention their names, and they're gonna be shamed forever on video. Spencer, Matt, they're not here, and also Yang, and also we find out who it is whose names I don't know and who I won't recognize in a class, but yeah, and then Charles, you're here. Yeah, no, yeah, you've been solid. You're my anchor, Charles. Morning, Calgary. You guys let me know when you have me. You get me. Let me know. Let me know when that happens. Let me know if that's a thing. So I will let you know, just in case anyone wonders, yes, this is a Wii Remote. I will be using it to control my presentation this morning. I have the code available for that. If anyone wants it, I will Slack them a gist. So, yeah. It's fun. It's a fun little bit of, it's fun. I've only tried it on OS X, so I haven't made sure it works for Linux. So that's the thing. But I've used just Node stuff, so I don't know how you connect. This isn't what my lecture is about. It's not about how to talk to a Wiimote over Bluetooth. It's the midterm kickoff. Beyond Thunderdome. Does anyone know what the reference Beyond Thunderdome is, or is that just old and I'm old? Okay, cool. Just thought I'd find out. Awesome. Everything is falling apart. So, why? Why are we doing this? Also, what are we doing? No, let's work with that first. What are we doing? We'll get to the why. We'll get to the why. We're going to talk about the what first, and then we're going to talk about, like, you know, more things. We're going to talk about what it is that we're actually doing today and for the next 5 days. All right, so whenever you have a project, you would form a team. You would think of an idea. You wouldn't necessarily do it in these orders. Like, you might do a couple things out of order, but you'd think of an idea. You'd develop some business requirements. You would choose a tech stack. You would determine your timelines. You would plan. You would develop. And then you would present or push or somehow otherwise, like, ship your product. Show the world that you had done something, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to have you do this timeline, except we did all of that stuff for you. We formed you into teams. And so really all we're going to have you do, the part of the project is you're going to take a preset set of requirements, and within the strictures that we gave you and the team we gave you, you're going to go through these parts of developing something. This is going to be bigger than anything you have built so far. You're going to think wistfully back to week 1 when your entire homework would be in one file that you would just say no to this. And you'd get the right console log and you're like, yeah, that's all. That's as complicated as it went. This thing is smaller than my brain and it's awesome. Now we're gonna make something big. And the point of the midterm project is that we want to give you a chance to sort of develop the entire app, like get a sense of what it should do, given a set of requirements, given a business idea, make something. In 4 more weeks, you will form a team. You will think of an idea. You will develop requirements. You will choose a tech stack. You will determine your own timelines. You will do that. But for now, you don't have to. You're welcome. Okay. So your timeline is basically going to be this. We're going to pick a project from the list. You're going to plan/design. You're going to scaffold, kind of set up. Scaffold just means to set up a thing. Oh, no, buddy, your seat's over here. Oh. Yeah, it is. This is a well-lit classroom, man. You're not gonna Metal Gear Solid your way through this one. Again, has anyone played Metal Gear Solid? Okay, that's 2 cultural references. Cool. All right. So, usually the process has ideation. But what you're going to do is you're going to pick from a project list. These are the projects you have. Each of them has certain drawbacks, and some of them have interesting features. Some of them have interesting challenges. I will say, the one thing I'm going to say about any of them is that the card game, game development is its own kind of programming. I've seen the card game be a really good experience for some and a really tough experience for some. So, you know, just wanted to let you know, if you're like, oh, card game, just take a moment. Think about how you would design the rules of a card game and then do something else. No, yeah, so these are the options. Each one has some cool stuff, some cool challenges, like the wiki map has a map. You can work with a map integration. The food pickup ordering has integration with SMS and phone systems, which I think is pretty cool. So look through them, look through what interests you, what you feel you could do a good job with, and what has maybe a technical challenge that you're like, no, I could, that's me, I could do that. So, also, by the way, you're not ready to code. Don't start coding. Stop it. Ardelia, you heard me. All right, so I don't know if she was coding. I just picked a name. Yeah. So, choosing a team. You already have a team. You're welcome. And also, you're not ready to code. Stop it. So, we have assigned you a team. We had a very big, complicated algorithm that may have involved a dartboard. We did try to, if you're thinking to yourself, oh, but I've been working really well with this person, and I wanted to continue to work really well with them, I say to this inseparable pack of 5, don't worry, you'll be able to work with people. Part of the idea of breaking up is that you'll get a chance to work with people you probably won't end up working with in the final project. So if you want to reform into the superorganism that you've already formed, you can feel free to. But this is a chance to kind of work with people maybe you wouldn't have worked with before. And we tried to pair up like groups based on kind of strengths and personalities, and we do our best to sort of find as good a grouping of people as we can. Sure. Jeffrey, like, yeah, we totally. Also, I just realized these people are British. I think British just because of the plugs. That's not what this lecture is about, like even a little bit. Oh, can you pause? We're having issues. Are we still having issues, Calgary? I know. I'm so sorry. I'm a big old jerky jerk face. Oh, Kenzie? No, we're good. Kenzie, should I back up and say anything? I know, it's interactive television. It's amazing. Although I think just saying interactive television makes me sound very old. Like, I could. Nah, go ahead. We got the gist. Cool. All right. So we're going to talk about design. All right. So the next kind of step in this process, you already have a set of business requirements. Usually what we would do is we would start kind of setting up business requirements. And yeah. And we use kind of this design trifecta of user stories, wireframes, and ERDs. These are 3 good ways of different ways of looking at the process and the project. Who's heard of user stories? These guys knows what's up. Sylvia knows what's up. All right. Well, they're pretty simple. It's a very simple format. It's kind of like an I statement. Who's learned I statements? You know, I felt blank when you blank because blank. What I wanted you to do was blank, you know? So this is a lot like that, only for developing software, not mending broken relationships. So a demo user story would be as a role, and maybe given some context, I want to some action so I can goal or desire. Okay? So for instance, if I was designing YouTube, I might say, as a video producer slash vlogger, given that I have recorded and edited a video, so I have my video ready, I want to publish that video so I can matter. It's got real. So wireframes. This is kind of the next part. Who has seen a wireframe like this, right? Who feels that they could go from this to actually make an HTML page, right? So the idea with a wireframe is that this gives us a chance to, in a very low fidelity prototype, a very rough draft, kind of say this should have this and this should have this. It's easy to go through and make a bunch of wireframes as we go. Now, as you're going, it's good to have this level of granularity. Don has this one story of a wireframe where it's like, you know, very clear title, content, ratings, and then the thing on the bottom just said notifications. And it's just like, what's with this box? And the person looked at him and was like, that's where the notifications go. And he's like, okay, are they all in a line? Are they coming in as a feed? Are they meant to like stack up on each other? Do you want to click one and expand it further? Do you are these notifications going to have any icon with them, any kind of short text, any small text? Are they going to have a link to somewhere else? Right? So as you're building, you want to be, this is a low fidelity, but you want to have some sort of sense of how this would actually look and not just block out notifications. I think one of the big things that I have learned about that being a developer has taught me about like kind of the design mindset and how we make things in this new century is that we go from a rough idea and make it more and more precise. And we can use a wireframe to sort of identify, oh, I don't really know what this is. I know that notification is supposed to go here, but let me tell you how they actually look. The next part of that is you might want to have a page flow. This is a mobile one, but this is an example of like, I click this and that takes me to this and that takes me to that and that takes me to that. I want a page that does this, I want a page that does that. Maybe this page does two things, but I know what these pages do. And I have a sense of like, this should go to that and this should go to that, right? So one of the things that I find to be interesting about web, like the kind of implementing design and web design in general, especially as I've worked with print designers, is that we have very different, like it's a very different world. Trying to get a print designer to design for web often requires them to have an understanding of a few things. One is that you won't always get what you want. Like, the thing is gonna change. Like whenever they're like, yeah, there's widows and orphans on the things, like, yeah, not my problem. That is impossible to solve. Like, do we have 5 years in a research team? No, this has to go out tonight. So no, you're not getting a static, like it's not gonna lay out the way you want it to every time. And the second thing is that when you lay out a print, that is exactly what it is and ever shall be. It is static. It is a two-dimensional thing. Whereas when we do web, it's three-dimensional. It changes over time. So you have to think that what you're having is, like any static wireframe is a snapshot in time. And it's a snapshot of a process that takes time. Oh, no, you didn't. All right, hold on. I think my battery's died. Hold on. Hold on. This is not as much fun without this thing. All right, give me a second. Okay. Let me go to my code here. Right. Sorry. Okay. So ERDs. You guys know what ERDs are? Yes, you do. Shut up, you've made like 2. Also, you're not ready to go. So, a couple notes about ERDs. You were introduced to ERDs in the context of databases. And for me, for a long time, that's what entity relationship diagrams were for. They were for designing my database schema, right? But what's ERD actually stand for? I just said it a moment ago. Who caught it? Entity relationship diagram. Does that have the word database in it anywhere? No, it does not. Does it have the word table or row or record? No. It is a relationship between entities. So it's also the relationship between things in your system. So if you have a user that has comments, your API is also going to reflect, oh, I have a /user/12/comments. Maybe I want to see their comments, right? Or maybe when I give back a user object, I make sure that it has comments with it. Yeah? So this is, yeah. This is the, what am I trying to say? What am I trying to say? Angela, help me out here. So when you're thinking about your ERD, it's not that you make your database and you throw the ERD away. The ERD should actually be a reference for, it can be a reference for how you design your pages. A user has these things. And when I'm looking at the user's pages, maybe I should see those things. Or maybe a link to the next thing, right? If we're talking about like Instagram, we have users, and one user has many photos. So a user's page should have like kind of like at least a snapshot of each of the photos. Then I can click on that and go to the photos page, right? Okay. Routes. Now you're probably used to thinking of these as, you know, like one of the things we're going to be doing is your user routes. Once you have your wireframe, like, oh, this goes to this and this goes to this, you were probably going to assign each page a route, assuming that you're not doing this all like a single page app. So user routes, and that's going to be things like HTML and CSS and images and client.js, right? And you have like, oh, I do a post and that causes a redirect to this get, right? So part of your thing is going to be planning around that. But if you're doing an app that has Ajax, you're going to have other routes. You're going to have API routes. Now, what's the difference between a UI and an API? A lot? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I have to apologize to Conwell. Conwell, how's it going, man? I have to apologize because earlier I said the names of all the people who were late and I left you out, and I feel bad for having left you out. All right. It was a gross oversight on my part, and it does not reflect my lack of regard for you. So when you're watching this later, I just didn't want you to feel left out. I didn't want you to feel like, hey, I'm part of this class, because you are. I mean, you weren't at that point of the day, but yeah. So your API routes, they're just going to feed back. They're going to communicate with JSON, right? What's JSON? Yeah, fair enough. The JavaScript object notation, or is it sometimes referred to in blog posts, fat-free XML. And one of the things that would be different about your API routes is that where with your UI routes you would have a post redirect get pattern. With your API routes, there's no redirects. If something works, if you create something, return a 201 status and the object created, like your tweets did. If something is accepted, return a 202 status. If something is deleted, I think it's a 202 as well, right? But you're not going to return redirects from your API routes, all right? And the difference between, I didn't actually get to the difference between UIs and APIs because I use it to you know, throw a little salt at poor Conwell. Yeah. What's the difference between, what does UI stand for? What does API stand for? Yeah. What does CLI stand for? So command line interface, is that a UI or an API? It's a UI, right? Because you are the ones eyeing it, yeah? So the idea with a UI is that a UI is meant to be somehow intercepted by human sensory organs, you know, and acted on by human mechanical actions. Whereas API is one program talking to another program. And you design an API differently than you design a UI. And there are many types of APIs, as there are many types of UIs. But that's a different story. No, it can't be time for coffee yet. Good heavens, it's too early. Right, so I think I was planning on talking a little bit at this point. So there should be a big star here that also says you're not ready to code. If you find yourself halfway through the day tomorrow and you have not written a single line of code, good. That's fine. That's fine. As coders, we have an impulse to code. It's gratuitous. It's pathological. As coders, we just want to code. We just want to fix everything with code. We just want to code things. You know? We are that proverbial little boy with a hammer to which every problem looks like a nail. The best code you can write is less code. More code does not solve a problem. And by the way, if your code is not working, more code will not fix it. It's a little something we call Monica's Law around here. We had an instructor named Monica Olenescu who said that, and it became known as Monica's Law, and it's so true. We are, for whatever reason, like we focus so much on coding that coding becomes our answer to everything. And I think one of the things I've learned about projects is to code less, to sometimes be willing to take a step back before starting a project and kind of figure out, okay, what we're going to do, what that's going to look like. So if you find that you are still making your wireframes by the end of the day, and you're having that little voice inside you that's like, I haven't coded yet, I haven't done anything. It's cool, you're in a good place. Sunday evening, yeah. Well, you should be coding on Sunday evening. I will agree with you on that. Yeah, you would have done some like really good planning. So then I just have to like press the letter A and everything fixes. Yeah, so I definitely want to say that there's two things that are great about a good plan. The first thing is that you know how to do, like you're marching along a path and you can kind of go from start to finish. The second thing is that if you have a clear plan, if you know exactly what it is you're making, then what happens is that in a team of a few people, it's really easy to be like, okay, you make this part, you make that part. Because we all know what we're making, we're all working to a common goal that has been expressed well, and we're going to be able to work on it. So, yeah. Where was I? Momentarily. Right. So I'm going to share with you I have this model for how I design anything. I have not seen it out there. I've seen like little bits of it out there, so I'm not original. I'm not interesting. But it just came for me a way to express what it was that I was doing. And it's a really simple formula. Who, why, what, how. All right, everyone say who? Who. Well done. All right, why, what, how. So what that means is that I first identify my who. And my who isn't just, it's not just like, oh, my end users. Your who in anything is going to be a bunch of people, all your, what we call stakeholders, people who are going to be affected by the thing that you make. Your who, when you're thinking about what you're building, involves your end user, it involves your business owner, it involves like your investors, it involves your team members, it involves other coders who might pick up this project after you've struck it rich and moved on, right? So the who is bigger than just, so if you just like, oh, this makes the user happy, and the fact that I've coded this into a total mess that doesn't match any of the contracts that my team agreed upon is fine. No, the way that you write code, the way that you make decisions is going to affect people around you. So consider them as well. So the next part is why. And that's a little bit of what the user stories does, is it helps us identify like the end goal, like why do they want to do this? What's their purpose? For my team members, their why they want me to do anything involves them wanting to see a good committed product. How's it going? Yeah, like they want to be able to be part of a successful project. They want to be able to maintain code that I've written. They want to be able to understand the code I've written. They want to be able to interface with the pieces I've written. They want to be able to, like, you know, kind of pair and that sort of thing. So that is their why. The users, the business owners want to have money and get something out quickly. So we have whys and benefits kind of all around, and that will lead us to the what. And the user stories declare, like, as a blank, I want to blank, like, so that I can blank something blank. And we start to kind of finish like, okay, then I'll figure out which features I want to do. And like everything that you do, every what should reflect a whose why. Yep, that sentence compiled. Every what should reflect a whose why. It should be like everything that you make should actually have a value to someone, not just be, wouldn't it be cool if? No. Get a whose why. If anyone, I think a rule should be, if anyone says, wouldn't it be cool if, after the first half of the day, of today, they have to walk around the building. That's just, I think that's just fair. Which is really kind of, no, it's not that far. Just have to go down, walk around the building, come back up, take a seat, learn your lesson. And from there, that's how we figure out our how. So who, why, what, how. This is something I take into everything I make. When I'm working on curriculum, well, my who is my students, my who is prospective employers, my who is like the people I'm working with, the people the other mentors, other instructors. Those are all my who's, and they have their own whys. So like something that'd be good for employers and students, but not for other instructors, is be like, you know what? I'm going to just include everything in this brand new technology that no one else has ever heard of, but I think is really good. Right? Yeah. So that is a bit about how we're going to construct our project and how we're going to start. When we come back, we're going to talk about the kind of the bigger thing about like, okay, well, how are we actually going to do this, the actual method? Yes, Mr. Mackey.
When to make branches versus
When to make branches, when to clone and stuff. That is a good question that will be covered in detail in the second half. It's such a good question that I wrote many slides about it. This is not me cheeking. This is being like, that's a good point. It is a good point. That's a question you all, the fact that you all didn't have that question makes me kind of ashamed of the rest of you. So we're going to put that together and talk about it in the second half. Hello, friends. All right, let's go do this thing. Let's talk about the thing we're talking about. I'm going to make punitive eye contact with anyone who's talking. Punitive eye contact. That's right, Calgary. I hear you. Dave. They don't have a Dave. I don't know why I said that. Okay. Someday, someone is going to be watching this lecture video. Someone's going to be like, I'm going to get high and go over my past lectures. And there's going to be like, why are they talking to me? It's weird. All right. That's true. That's true. That means I have to insult you now. Or maybe I insult your future self? Hey, nice hairline, Eric. All right, so it's coming. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're pulled off of the plum. I've seen a lot of, like when I was in the Air Force, there'd be lots of guys who were like, "Oh, I'm balding," and they'd just shave it, and I was like, that works better than anyone trying like comb overs of that nonsense. So, I think you're gonna come out fine. Yeah, I think you're gonna come out just fine. So then, yeah. I'm trying to think of other future predictions I may make of people and what they currently are doing. All right. So let's talk about how we're going to do things. We're going to have one step of project setup. This is, once you've done your planning, you'll be ready to actually start making a thing, right? So you're going to grab the github.com Lighthouse Labs node skeleton. And this is a project stack that has Node and Express, jQuery. I think it has Bootstrap 3 involved. I would recommend getting Bootstrap 4 because it's new. SAS, connects, and Postgres, right? So this is going to be your stack. A stack has been chosen for you, which as juniors is your life. By the way, like, obviously we're giving you a stack, the same stack we taught you. Just so that you know, you're going to get to a job and then they're going to be like, yeah, we do everything in Django, or PHP, or ASP.NET, or, you know, Vue on the front end, or Angular 1, because you're supporting legacy code, or it's all jQuery, you need to React by it, or the other way around, or whatever, right? So you're going to get used to, like, even the stage that I'm at, I still have to get used to, like, I work in whatever stack I'm given. I'm working on a contract right now. They use Django with Python. I knew neither of these things. So I had to figure out how to work with them to make this happen. And that's just my life. So the whole like, but I want it to work in a stack I want it to work in. Well, too bad. That's what your final project's for. Same thing if you're like, but I don't want anything off this list of projects. I want to make one of my own. Awesome. You have 4 weeks to think about what that'll look like. And then try to convince your teammates. And then throw it away when they laugh at it. So, that was too far. I heard it. That was way too salty. Okay, so let's get back to why. What's the purpose of what we're doing? So as we embark on the, like, what we're actually going to do, why are we doing this? A lot of times you approach this project and your goal is like, well, I'm going to build the thing. And the only thing that matters is whether or not I'm successfully built the thing. Right? But you're also trying to learn how to build the thing. Like a big part of this is that you don't know how to build a thing. So you got to learn how to build the thing. You're going to learn all the steps of a project. You're going to find things in wireframe and be like, oh, I hadn't thought of that as a thing. But now I can think of that as a thing. And that's going to be itself a valuable experience. Communicating with each other. Finding out what happens when you don't communicate with each other. Right? Someone gives you an API spec and you don't build to that spec. And then things go haywire and you're like, your mistakes can be a little bit costly. You have 5 days, so iterate quickly over your. Fail quickly, fail cheaply, fail informatively. You're going to be learning communication methods and the importance of communication methods. When it's too much communication method, when it's too little. Give you a hint. It's almost always too little. So, you're going to learn how to communicate, learn when to communicate, and learn like when the right time is to actually coordinate something. Through this process, you're going to be building a rapport with your teammates. You're going to be building a rapport with the rest of your class. And you're going to be working with people that you may be like, oh, I like working with this person. I'm going to do this. I will say, we have had situations where people have been poor teammates. And what happens is that all the poor teammates will be in a project team with each other at the end. So we had a situation where we had two teams. One person like deleted the Git repo because they just weren't happy with it on Friday and wanted to start over. Yeah, all of you who look appalled is the right choice. And another team that did there's another person from another team that did something similar, and they ended up in a final project group with each other.
What, did they fist fight?
No, they didn't. Oh, there was almost a fist fight. There was almost. There was not on stage, but there was one point where, I don't know, like I wasn't there at the time. I'm not sure if it was like, oh, they were emotionally ready to punch this guy, or if they were like physically ready, like, you know, kinetic energy had been stored up. But yeah, that was. So while you're going, don't do that. And I'm going to get a little bit more into that as we go.
Are you using a Wii remote?
I am. There's a. I hate to say, you missed this in the first bit of the lecture. I'm using a Wii remote. I am talking to, like it is sending Bluetooth signals to my laptop. I'm using a node library called HID, as well to like intercept the signals. I'm using a library called Robot.js to then send signals to my OS as like keyboard signals. And so I have it wired such that I'm pretty sure the is that an A button? No, B button. The B button is a space. The left, right, up, and down are left, right, up, and down. And then I had something else for, I can't remember. I had something else on there. No, just listen to it. It's connected to the OS via Bluetooth. Again, I will share this in a gist. I did use a thing called observables, which is its own thing, but we're going to, so that part of the code might be a little like, what? But let's move on. Yeah, so don't be a jerk. Whatever you're doing, every action you take should answer the question, am I helping my team get to the goal line? And if your answer does not help your team get to the goal line, take a moment. Walk around the building if you must. Take a moment, suggest wouldn't it be cool, and then use that to walk downstairs, take a walk around the building, and come back up. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had speech to text? No, I'll go. That's fine. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Wouldn't it be great if we integrated a Wiimote into our system? No, I'll take a walk. No, that makes sense. Okay. So, communication tools. There's a thing called Trello. Who's heard of Trello? Yeah, a couple of people. So this is what we call a Kanban board. And the idea with this is that we have these kind of like sections that things are in, these little cards, and you put tasks. And usually the way you use this is, like it says here, in progress, testing, tested, code review. Like in progress, like maybe it's being designed, maybe it's in like, oh, we have a front end or we have a back end thing for that. And then, so whatever stage that something can be at, you're going to move it across. And the idea is that the first thing should be like to do and the last thing should be ta-da. So we're going to keep on going. That's how a magician's to-do list ends, of ta-da, is how that's funny. And if you were wondering why you were laughing at that joke, now you know. Okay, so Angela's like, there was a joke and I don't know what the joke was. You weren't missing anything. It was awful. So yeah, Trello will be a great way. GitHub Projects also has a very similar Kanban board. And so this lets you, anyone who looks at it can track and see like, oh, this is here. Oh, this person's working on this. This has been assigned to this person, yada, yada, yada. Notes that go with it, screenshots, that sort of thing. You can look at any kind of task like that, which is cool. Slack. Who has heard of Slack? Yeah. I've been sending you Slack messages all day, Jeffrey, asking you to review my album. All right, so yeah, so this is Slack. You should use the Slack. If you are like, hey, I'm having a trouble with this, let your team know on the Slack. If you're like, hey, I'm grabbing snacks. Who wants snacks? Slack your snacks. All right. Right. If you're like, hey, I'm not getting nodes to work with Postgres, Slack your stack. If you, I have more of these. I have so many more of these, but I'm going to let. There should be no lack of Slack, is all I'm saying. Yeah, this is a good place to kind of keep track with each other about like, hey, this is happening. I'm working on this. Does anyone have a chance with this? Even if you're like coding across from someone, like even in the office, we often use Slack when we're like just coding with each other. KV will be sitting like I can see the condensation on his glasses, and he'll Slack me, right? We are, yeah. Like I can see my own reflection in his eyeball, and yet he's slacking me. So that's just how we do things a lot. It partially kind of creates a paper trail, creates like a record of what was talked about and stuff. Easy way to share files. If you are sharing code over Slack, it's not that easy. Make sure to use like the triple backticks, or share a snippet. Do a gist. I'm just saying, if you copy paste a bunch of code into Slack, Slack is going to smart quote it, and you're going to be like, this doesn't work. I'm like, did you get this from the internet or Slack, which is technically part of the internet? And you're going to be like, yeah, and I'm going to be like, oh, you. That's week one, day one stuff. It's week one, day one stuff, but you kind of remember things. Okay, Git. Who's heard of Git? Yeah, Eric's like, yep. Wanted to hear about this like 30 minutes ago. Oh, have we heard about that, right? So we have a, this kind of shows like a bit of a model of like master and dev, feature one, feature two. You guys know how Git works, so I'm just going to kind of reestablish, now that you've actually used it a few times, you have the context of your experience. We're going to talk a bit about how you should use it as a team. So your master should be your stable branch. Whatever master is, if I was like, hey, show me master working, you should be able to be like, oh yeah, here's master working, right? Like I should be able to download your master, do the appropriate install, and it should work. Even if it has nothing. Even if all your master is like the the two connects migrations that come with the skeleton and the seed, like even if that's all you have, that should be stable. Your master should not have bad code. The idea is that we're going to create feature branches. Now, if you use issues in GitHub, again, with Dev at Lighthouse, what we do is we often have an issue like, issue 121, sidebar nav. And so I'll make a feature. It's like git checkout -b 121/side nav, so that it has some visibility. So to make a new branch, check out master. Make sure you have the most recent master before you make a new branch. Git branch, new feature branch. So git branch, new feature branch, like that name, new feature branch, is the name, like whatever you're going to call that, right? And then you want to check out. You can do these two in one line with git checkout -b. But yeah, so you're going to make a new branch for the feature that you are creating, or the bug you are fixing, right? Or the bug you are implementing, yeah. Yeah.
So you have your master branch, you've got some working, whatever.
Right.
When you start your dev branch,
Yeah.
you go new, just like that.
Yeah.
New branch dev, checkout under that.
Yeah, so what I do is I make sure that my new feature branch is built off of master. From the master it came, to the master it shall return. So I go to master first, make sure I have the freshest, newest master, and then build my thing as I go.
How you have it here, it's master branch, dev branch.
Yeah, with this particular model just has an intermediate step because they have like a lot of dev going on. Yeah, so it's like this dev branch becomes like a staging area. that they can use to check, like, okay, have we integrated? Does the integration work? And when it does, then they can push it into master. But the idea is that they have an extra step. You can imagine this without that dev branch. So check out new feature branch. So you save to Git code. I have found, again, this is not a discipline I was like, this is the right way to do things, therefore I shall do things that way. I never do what I'm supposed to do. I'm not sure if you guys have figured this out about me. I never do what I'm supposed to do. I am supposed to do. I do what I am rewarded for doing. And I don't do what I am punished for doing. And because of that, Git status. I check my Git status before doing an add. I do a Git status after. I just make sure that I added what I wanted to add. When I don't do Git status, that's when I fuck up. So Git status, Git add, I add whatever files I need to add. Git status, I write a commit with some good message. And then I git pull origin master. So this is, I might do this before or after just to make sure I have the latest from master. And mine is going to be easily synchronized. Fix conflicts, and I git push. Now, you know that git push upstream, blah, 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 blah. Right. I can never remember what it is either, so I just write git push. Git push says like, you don't have an upstream branch. Did you want this code? Yep. Copy, paste. Ba-ba. So this is enough to remember. And the less that I have to remember, the more effective I'm going to be, right? En español, por favor? I'm just kidding. All right.
So if you do a git status and you find that you have some change, you don't know what change,
Yeah, git diff can be like, oh, what's actually changed between them. So I frequently, before committing, just kind of do a check to see what I've done. And you can do git diff. If you've already added something and be like, oh, what did I do? You can use git diff -- cached as the cached flag, and that'll show you the difference between like what it used to be and what it is now. So that's handy. Sir.
Right here it says git, like the git pull.
Yeah.
Is that changing your local files to patch? Or?
Yes. Git pull does a fetch and a merge. Right?
It doesn't change the like.
So what this basically says is get the latest master and merge it into my current branch.
Right. And then it'll fix all the conflicts. And
Then you fix conflicts.
oh,
Do you see how that's like
okay.
fix conflicts, fix conflicts, fix conflicts? Anything that's repeated, that's your that's your part of this. Yeah.
I was thinking that was just like.
do you not need to commit again before you push on the last?
Yeah, you do need to have another commit. You're right. I should put another.
Really,
Like sometimes if you have conflicts, like yeah, if you have conflicts, you have to commit them. If the merge just works, you won't have to do a second commit. The merge itself will be a commit. And then it'll let you know if you're up. A lot of times it'll be like, oh, you're already up to date. If there's no changes, and you're like, okay, cool.
always pull before. Check conflicts.
Yeah, and then push. Right? And then when you're doing a merge, you do the fetch, you check out the new feature branch, you pull it, check out a master, pull it, merge it. So this is, I was having a discussion last night with Jeremy Holman. And as you can imagine, he has opinions. He has opinions, and he does things with the English language that he just bends it in ways that somehow shouldn't actually work. But his sentences compile, so I can't complain. To everybody else's English, no. So yeah. Pull request. Who knows what a pull request is?
You're asking other people to merge your changes.
Yeah. You're asking somebody else. So basically the idea is that there is someone who has the authority to merge, right? And what they do is they do a code review. They look through to see what has changed. They look through the kind of like, oh, this has changed, that's changed, this has changed. Yeah, sure, that's good. Or actually, no, I have notes, right? Or, oh, I tried this and then there was a problem. Yeah? So, and they'll have a comment and you'll kind of comment back and comment, and then somebody who is the authority can be like, okay, this, I merge. I agree, and it becomes part of master, right? So you might want to do it this way, where somebody is the merging authority and it's their job to be like, yeah. Even if it's like just the simplest of code reviews is just like, that's written in JavaScript. And that might be something where you're like, that's fine. If you're like, that happens too many times a day, then I guess you just make sure everybody has the authority to like merge into master and make changes to master. And the change that should be made, of course, is the merging of a branch into master, right? However you decide as a team to do this, that's fine. If you just have like, like you were like, we'll have pull request, pull request, pull request, and then pull request, pull request, pull request, and then like every 2 hours we'll meet up as a team and do a code review. That's a thing you could do. If you're just like, one person has the responsibility to code review and it's all just a lie. It's all Git theater. Just somebody, boop, yeah, that's a thing, and then goes through with it. Like, okay, you could do that too, but at least you've done the process. So you will have nominally done the process.
Sorry, what was the line?
The lie is that the idea that you're doing a detailed code review.
Oh.
Because you could, but who has the time, right? So this is a way to sort of go through and do that. So I will kind of leave it to you. If you wanted to say like, hey, everybody can merge to master, that's fine. If only the Git repo owner does that, that's also a thing. Okay, so I want everybody to do me a favor. I want everyone to stand up, please. Calgary as well. All right, I want everyone to put their hands over their hearts. Whichever hand. Your coding hand. What do you think about that one? Your name. I knew you were going to say that. Do solemnly swear, affirm, or otherwise mumble. I will not code on master. I will not code on master. I will make feature branches. My commit messages will be succinct yet informative. My commit messages will reflect the changes in the commit. I will merge master into my feature branch before writing a pull request. If I should fail in these regards, may the pain be my guide to a better way. All right, take a seat.
I had a question for you, actually.
Okay, you had a question.
Because, so I was talking to one of the mentors, and they mentioned that when you write your messages, they should always be in present tense. What do you mean by that?
Okay, the question was, when you write commit messages, they should always be in present tense. I don't know. I write mine. I guess I write mine in past tense. Okay, this is about convention. This is like about what you've all agreed to do, right? That's not a bad convention. This commit does this. So, yeah. So when I wrote mine, I kind of write it as in the implied subject was I. I added this. I implemented this. It's all about me. That's just me being selfish, man. This should be describing. So I get the idea. You know, I kind of like that one. I might actually pick that up in the future because that just says what the commit is doing.
Exactly. It'd be like add
Right.
feature,
Right.
add this. But
Yeah.
why does that make sense? It's like, I just do it now because
Yeah. It makes sense to do something that's consistent and clear, and that's a good one. This is what you're going to find with a lot of conventions, is it's all about doing what is clear, and what I can read in a moment and know exactly what it does. So if the idea is that when I did something, and often my commit messages reflect what I did, and this is more about what the commit does. This commit adds this. This commit, adds a users table to the schema. That sort of thing, right? Okay, trying new technologies, the WTF method. I talked a little bit about this. Was it day 2 I had you guys? Week 1, day 2? All those many years ago? And what I talked about was the divergence and convergence, right? So convergence is I have all the things at my disposal. I know what to do. I'm making big angel arms and making big snow angels up here. I know exactly what it is I need to do. I just need to go do it, right? I've made a form. I've used that form to send information to an AJAX request. We're good. I've made things lay out in CSS with Bootstrap. Oh, I know how to do that. I know. And then you're presented with something that you don't know. Did anyone pick the maps? All right. Did anyone pick the food ordering? Yeah. So you guys, at the very, and this is actually true of kind of everybody, but you guys especially have a specific technology that you're going to have to figure out. Whether it's like Google Maps or any other map technology you choose, or the Twilio SMS. You're going to have something that you're going to need to figure out. And the impulse is, I am just going to put it into my project. And coding on master. Right? I recommend don't do that. So this is where the convergence kind of breaks down. You need to kind of have a little bit of divergence. This is where you need to try something. And I recommend trying something in isolation. If we have Twilio, we're probably going to, whatever technology it is that you are looking for, you will probably be able to say tutorial after it, put it in Google, and find like 20 results, right? Because web development is fucking awesome for that. I love being a web developer. Oh, I did my bachelor in game development, and while game development itself is fun, finding resources on game development not as fun, because they assume that you know math, so much math. They're like, well, clearly you need a library for quaternions, and I'm like, yes, quaternions. Yeah, the 4-dimensional complex numbers. Like, yes. And I understand how this works, but why don't you explain it to my friend Yang while I'm in earshot, please? Thank you. It was just like, they kind of had all these assumptions about like, oh yeah, just use a Blin-Phong shading. What's that? Well, you know, obviously, you take the light source and the angle of the surface and are able to figure out the specular, diffuse, and ambient lighting based on those particular aspects of the material that you have. Of course, we're just multiplying the light stuff, and I'm like, okay, I already just can't. Like, it's a lot of complex stuff, and there wasn't as many tutorials and that sort of thing. There are now, there's more as time goes on. I think about how I learned guitar in the pre-YouTube age, and it's not fair, y'all. It's just not fair. So, run a tutorial by itself. Run a project by yourself. You can put it as a Git repo. You can share it with your teammates, with the other people around you, right? So they can see, oh, this is how this works. This is how I got it to work. And what I recommend is this, because you have 5 days. This many. All right? You have 5 days. So how are you going to do this? You're just going to be like, I'm going to take the afternoon. You can't really do that, to try something out like that. So what I do is I time box myself. Be like, look, if I'm going to be able to use this, I should be able to do X within an hour. I make a SMART goal. You guys ever heard of SMART goals? Where they're specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound? That sounds smart. Yeah. So, for instance, a couple months ago, Sam Meach Ward, who you guys had some time with Sam. He was like, hey, do you want to teach an iOS lecture? I don't know And I'm like, on what? And he's like, well, on servers. Okay, yeah, that's my jam. He's like, yeah. Can you use a server written in Swift? I'm like, well, I don't know Swift. And I said, I'll tell you what. Just give me an hour. By the end of half an hour, I should be able to take in something off a parameter and spit it back to the user, right, in a request. And then by the end of an hour, I should be able to take an object of some kind in Swift and return it as a JSON object, maybe from like an internal data store that could just be like a set of objects, right? And I was able to do both those things. But like the entire time, I was kind of like working with a bunch of students that were there and be like, how does this work in Swift? How does this work in Swift? How does this work? So from that, I was able to get a sense of the level of difficulty. And when you are like, how long would it take you to do this thing, right? That'd be like saying, here's a unicorn. How long will it take you to tame it? Well, can it fly? Because that changes things. Got a unicorn that was pooping on my house. How do you, right? Like, how do you do that? So, what I do is I set myself a small goal to accomplish with this thing I don't know much about. And that gives me some sort of like, I know kind of what I would want to do with this. So with Google Maps, you might be like, I'm going to take this, and within an hour, I want to be able to like open up a map, zoomed in an appropriate length on Vancouver, and I want to have 3 markers on that map corresponding to the locations of 2 Cardams and Lucky's Donuts. Right? Like that's an achievable goal. And yeah, I worked donuts in again. So that is something that like this is the sort of thing I would like to do. If I can do this and this sort of relates, I feel like I would have a better chance of getting closer to my actual goal of whatever my actual goal is, right? For Twilio, it's going to be like, well, within a half an hour, can I send a text or send a voice message? I'm going to make things that are small and measurable and achievable and relevant and time bound. And if I can't do those, at least I found out really quickly how hard those work. If it takes me 15 minutes to finish my hour goal, oh, that's good. That's going to help me plan further down the line for how long things are going to take. As you are junior developers, this is going to be your life, is someone asking you how long it's going to take a thing to do that you don't know how to do. And one of the things that makes it a lot easier, that will make you better estimators, is knowing how to be like, well, let me do this small task, and then at least I have some idea about how much this big task will take me. So, and then why do a separate project with this? Why not just do it in your project? If it fails to work in your project, you don't know, well, does the library suck? Did I implement it wrong? Am I fitting it wrong into my project? Is my project incompatible with this technology? Those are 4 questions, right? If you do it on its own, you just find out, well, is the library wrong or am I using it wrong? You can answer that question first. And then when you know kind of what you're doing and you try to put it in your project, then you can answer those questions. Like if there's a problem, you have a better sense of how to make them fit together. So instead of having it not work and being like, well, it could be one of a million things, in isolation, it's just like, well, this small thing should work, and then I get to have this. There is a saying among snipers: aim small, miss small. And what it means, this actually comes from another Mel Gibson movie that I found, The Patriot, where it's like during the American Revolution, he's taught his sons to shoot, and he's like, what do we tell them? Aim small, miss small. Aim small, miss small. And what that means is this, is that if you aim for the shirt, you may miss the man entirely. If you aim for a button on the shirt, you may miss the button and still hit the shirt, right? And the idea here is that if I have a small thing that I'm aiming for at any given time, I just want to see this. I just want to see this one small thing. then if that doesn't happen, I've missed small. I'm able to be like, okay, I need to figure out why this small thing doesn't work. That's easier to debug than a bigger problem, right? The amount of, like, the bigger something is, it's not just bigger, it's like exponentially bigger in some senses, right? It's kind of like growth on one dimension. The cube is like, you have a cube that's like 10 centimeters tall, and another cube next to it that's 20 centimeters tall, the other cube is not twice as big. It's 8 times as big, right? So this is similar when you have like a problem with one small system is not the same as a problem with something with 4 systems, right? That's big. That's not 4 times bigger. That's several times bigger to decode and figure out. So when you try things on their own, you'll see if they work. So from here on in to the end of our acquaintance, if you're working on something with a new technology and you're like, I didn't get it to work, it's clearly Eric's voice. No. I can't do your voice, man. It's too authoritative. There's something about it. It's just like, yeah, it's probably right. Why do I think he's right about that thing? I don't get it. So it's like, what I'm going to say is, well, did you do a WTF project? Did you do a little, what's that for? Did you do a small thing with it on its own? I still do. I have found in my own coding, this isn't a thing to do when you're a junior developer. This is a mature coding practice. As I have said this to students, gone home, not done this myself, and my pain is my guide. All right? My pain is my guide. The pain, it is a history teacher and a fortune teller for all those fans of Deadpool 2. ¿Cómo se dice? En el pecado es... Okay. Mi vocabulario está muy pobre. My vocabulary is very poor. So yeah, in the seeds is the other thing he said. You know, so this is part of the starting out, and this is part of like when I learn from the mistakes I make, and one of the mistakes that I have made, I have learned from. One of the things that have saved me from that is making small projects, setting time aside to be like, well, can I do this one thing? So that is the WTF method. All right, be good teammates. Bring donuts for everyone. That's not good. Eric's like, it's not nice. I get it, man. Cardam's has this. I'm not going to tell you what they have. I'm just going to say it was good. And later I was like, I shouldn't have, but it was nice. I have to sometimes go figure out, I have to make trays between my physical health and kind of like emotional well-being, and sometimes I know that it doesn't matter. Okay. Keys to good teamwork. Be involved and excited. Guys, and I use that as a gender neutral term, people. Get turnt. Is that a thing, people? I don't know if I use that right. It's lit? It's lit now. Okay. Get shook. Get lit. I have no idea what that means, but I know it has to be a thing. All right, so Fam means group. Okay, I could make that. So be involved with your team. Be excited about this. This is fun. Even if it's silly, it's fun. Like this is something that you can kind of keep encouraging, keep the kind of morale up. You're all a team. You're all with each other in a thing. You're all kind of feeding off each other's emotional energies. Like it just becomes like this kind of shared space. So, you know, be involved, be excited. When people make mistakes, be excited for them, that they're going to be able to have this cool learning experience. They're going to get to learn from their mistake that you didn't have to make. Be supportive of other people's ideas. We could do this. Cool. I mean, you know, this is not a, hey, wouldn't it be cool if, but this is like, well, maybe we could do it this way. Or maybe we could do this, or maybe we could kind of like, oh, here's a way we could do that. And it's good to kind of like get a chance to be like, okay, cool. Well, let's talk that out. How would that work out? What are the consequences of that? How would we implement that? What would that look like on the server side? What would that look like on the front end side? Now, not just to like tear the idea apart, but to be like, what would this actually look like in reality? Because you have to figure out what it would actually look like in reality to make it a reality. But the goal should be like, hey, let's explore things. Let's just not be like, that's dumb. Like, let's actually go through. So be willing to let some of your ideas go. This is the flip side of it, is that when you bring your ideas to a group, you can't be married to them. They're just ideas, right? You're going to have lots of ideas. What you're going to find out as a developer is that ideas are a dime a dozen. And that you're going to have better and better ideas as time goes on. And the main thing is about learning to develop your idea makers, learning to develop your idea process into like reality. Follow the agreed upon processes. If you are going to do stand up twice a day, do stand up twice a day. Show up on time if that's important to your team. Communicate on Slack. Move things along on Trello. Make good commit messages. If your team says we're going to do our commit messages in the present tense, by God, you do it in the present tense. And don't code on master. Show up. This is going to be a process where we want all hands on deck as much as possible. I mean, I understand like there's personal things, you know. You have like, for the most part, there's sort of there's a sustainability of like, oh, but there's a thing with the person who is in town and I haven't had lunch with them yet. Like, yeah, maybe this is not the time for that one. So this is a more intense like crunch time. So you want to treat this like a more intense crunch time, which is show up, be there with your team. You know, there's a rugby phrase that I'm missing about like dig in? No, it's like, I feel like, yeah, something scrimmage. Scrimmage, that's not it. We scrub in if it was like a surgery, but yeah. Do what you say you'll do. If you say you're going to do a thing, do that thing. If you're like, I'm going to take care of this, take care of that. If you can't do it, communicate with your team. There should be enough room here to be like, look, I'm new. I thought I'd be able to make this. I'm feeling a little out of my depth. The earlier you communicate that, the better. And hopefully we can be with like, you can understand that if your teammate's like, I don't think I can do this thing, and they're telling you, they're showing a great deal of courage. They're showing a great deal of like transparency and humility, and you should really treat that with respect, because I have been on the side of people who can't do it and they just ghost. All right? When someone says they can't do it, you treat that confession with respect, because it is gold. It is a wonderful thing to have happen. If they find themselves in a place where they can't do it, then if they are being transparent about that and we can all move forward, that is amazing. That is something we should all strive towards. I still have to remember to do that myself. I still have to remember how to be transparent and be like, hey, I just don't have time for this thing. I really wanted to do this, but I have too many things in my plate. I really wanted to do this, but I got sick. I really wanted to do this, but I got... So it's important to be able to be transparent. And when that happens, it's important to accept your teammates and their transparency and be thankful for it. Because that helps you regroup. That helps you be like, either team up with each other to do something or kind of move through. So that is going to be an important part of it too. Own up to your mistakes. If you write something and it breaks and they say your thing breaks, don't say it wasn't my thing. My dad is a principal of a school, and the number of times he heard, oh, my child wouldn't do that. Right? No, my child wouldn't have done that. Like, your child, you may not be aware of this, and I get it, is an a-hole. So, yeah, own up to the fact that your code may have broken something. Your code is not perfect. You are not perfect. And make eye contact with as many people as I can while saying that you are not perfect. You make mistakes. We accept it. That's why you're in a school. So when your code breaks something, you should be looking at the error messages and being like, how can we fix this? If you have a thing of like, we're not sure what code broke this, then kind of work with the team. Your code, once you have pushed it, is everybody's code. I make very clear. You are co-captains of the ship, and so every bit of the ship is yours. So you have to kind of release, you have to own up to your mistakes, You have to own up to like the fact that your code is not going to be perfect, and just be cool with that. Give feedback kindly. Right? Hey, Frank, how's it going, man? Listen, I appreciate that is a big process. But you were gone for about 2 hours for lunch. I don't know if you had another thing you were at, but I would really appreciate it if, and we'd all appreciate it if you could kind of be here a little more during this thing. After midterm, you'll get a chance to sort of like chill out for Computer Science Week, but I would really appreciate it if you could be here. All right? How does that feel? Okay, now here's attempt B. Hey, jerk face! Jerk face! Where the hell have you been? We're all here, working. You're not working. You're jerk face. That best leader ever. Yeah, it is. It is a dictatorship, though maybe without the dictatorship. So that is an important part of this. Is hey, we're a team. One of the things I have observed is, do I have any more points on this one? Yeah. It's only a midterm project. This is an important one. This is not your $1 million idea. You will be able to feed your families after the midterm. Like your ability to feed your families will not have changed based on this, or your ability to have money, present yourself as a stable person, so that you can maybe start one of them families. So it's only a midterm. Like let's all be cool. It's important, and you should be really be dedicated to it during the 5 days. But also understand that when things work or things don't work, getting upset, like there's only a certain amount of upset that's going to help you out, right? You should be honest when you're upset, but it's only a midterm. Let it go. Where did my coffee go? I apparently let it go. All right. I was going to say a thing. What thing was I going to say? There was a thing. Yes. So, who has been to a university of some sort? Let me see them hands. Who's been university students? All right. And who has had a group project in a university? I am reminded of the meme. There's a yearbook photo, and the young woman says in her quote, "If I die, I want everyone I've been in a group project to be my pallbearer so they can let me down one last time." In university and high school, what ends up happening is that group projects, your group members are at best not barriers to your individual success, right? At worst, they are the parachute running behind you as you try to run a marathon. Like you're just struggling against them, right? You are just carrying them over the end. What I have found in coding is that no matter how good I get, I'm just one person. And I can find more and more libraries, and I do find more and more libraries to do more and more parts of my job more quickly, I get more efficient at doing everything. But the bigger and bigger things I want to build, I need people. I need people to work with me. I need people who are willing to sometimes just do the parts I'm not willing to do the grunt work that I need to get out of the way. Sometimes I need people to who are experts in things I'm not experts in. We've often had an intern at Lighthouse who will be a former student, and within 3 months that student knows more than I do about Rails. Like just because they're working on it every day, and then I'll have a Rails project and be like, how would you do this, right? And my point is that the people that you're in a team with are not hindrances to your individual success. They are important ingredients to your group success. And this is not just kind words. This is a fact of the industry. When you are out in the world working with people, those people are your success. Those people are how you become successful. The people around you are not hindrances. They are important and essential ingredients to this being a successful project. You may have struggles. Someone may do stupid things, and hopefully, if you follow these guidelines, if you think about your teammates, if you think about what you're doing as, will it take my team over the goal? What can I do to take my team over the goal line? You're going to be more successful. But it's going to start with everybody being willing to say, like, look, I want to accomplish something. You're going to be part of that. I want to accomplish something together. I want us to be proudly standing together besides what is not, hopefully, a flaming dumpster fire. Right? On Monday, you're all going to stand beside something. Are there any questions? All right, go be brilliant.